Hello and welcome back to another episode of On The Social. Today, as regular, joined by Reese Hurd. Cheers for coming, mate.
That's right.
We're going to go through 5 of your questions that you've sent in, and then we're going to leave the other 5 for the podcast that we're going to record straight after this. So, crack on with the first 5, Reese.
Right, the first question we've had is, whilst calls for Edinburgh to go are clear, are the players deserving of blame for a terrible season so far?
Do you want to go first, Reese?
Well, I think obviously it works both ways. They all have to take part of the responsibility, but I think a lot of the players individually have come in for a lot of slack at times. I can think of obviously Nelson, Oshalage has had a lot of criticism at times, Jackson, Wright, Dak, McDonald, Jet. A fair few of them have had criticism come their way, and obviously ultimately Edinburgh does take the flack of it because it's him who's in charge and it's his job to get the best out of them, and he's not doing it.
I think certainly maybe this might be a bit controversial, but Edinburgh can when he puts the team out, he can only do so much. Once they cross that white line, it's then up to the players. If the players don't believe in what the manager's doing, then they're not going to play to the best of their ability. But some Gills fans will argue that, well, then Edinburgh costs it by making his substitutions, which he does. He costs us the game by making what he makes his changes, makes his substitution, sets the players up. Yes, the players should take some flack because they're the ones that wear the badge. They're the ones that are playing the game. Edinburgh can't control obviously errors. He can't control errors because humans make errors. They all make mistakes. They're professionals. But the bottom line is they're making too many mistakes, and I think that's due to a confidence factor. I think that's because when you're confident and when you're happy, you tend to be sharper. I also think that the mistakes come from lack of fitness. I know he wasn't the greatest manager, but when Stimson was in charge, he was full on fitness. And I remember, I don't know if many Gills fans remember, Reece, you probably remember, the physio that year was Doug Gettelis, was it?
Yeah.
Something like that. And I remember him saying on the Wembley DVD, I don't know if you've got that, that fitness is not just running, it comes as a package. You're sharper on the ball, you're less likely to make mistakes because you are fitter, you run that extra yard, and I think that the mistakes tend to kind of happen when you're unfit. If you're not as fit as you'd like to be, you're that yard slower, meaning that player that gets the ball, or if we give away a challenge or whatever, maybe it's because we're not sharp enough. I think it's both.
Yeah,
I think it's both Edinburgh and the players. I think Edinburgh can't take all the flack because he's not the one out there.
I certainly think you're right on the fitness point. I mean, even more recently under Martin Allen, we obviously had James Russell here. Injuries were few and far between. We were fit enough to win a lot of games in injury time.
Yeah.
And even the first half of last season, to an extent, we looked a really fit side. Again, we're scoring a lot of late goals.
Yeah.
And now it's just gone completely reversed in the other direction. And every week at the moment we're conceding decisive goals in the last 10 minutes of games.
Yeah.
And it's not coincidence or bad luck that it's happening so often. There has to be a reason for it.
We've equalled our record for clean sheets in 1935, isn't it?
33. I think it's 83 years.
Bloody hell. It just goes to show that when you've got backroom staff that are all defenders and we can't keep clean sheets, something must be going wrong.
Moving on to the next question, which is about if obviously Edinburgh does go, would you accept Steve Evans as manager of the club? I think first thing, I think it's a pretty rhetorical question because I don't think all the time Scally is chairman it will ever happen in a million years.
No, he would never. He would never accept it. But Would I accept Steve Evans as a manager? No. Would I accept a character like him? Yes.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
I think that's exactly someone we need. Maybe not the type that he's a bit of a bad loser, but he doesn't take any crap. He doesn't take any crap, and I think that maybe we need a character like him that will come down on the players and not let things like happen on social media, because I certainly don't think if Evans or someone like Evans was in charge, anything would happen like that.
Yeah, I mean,
So no to Steve Evans as a guy,
I
but his
disagree
character,
that
yes.
him as an individual, I've seen people discussing as well that they just wouldn't enjoy going to games under his management.
Yeah.
Everyone's entitled to that opinion. At the end of the day, he's said a lot of bad things about us as a club
Yeah, exactly.
and accused us of racially abusing him.
Yeah.
But like we say, it would never happen because of them kind of things. He's not got a good word to say about us as a football club, so I can't see why Scally would even consider giving him a job.
No.
Next question is, how does Edinburgh see the performances so differently to us?
Cool. That's a tough question.
I think, to be fair to him, obviously we are getting sick of the repetitive nature of his comments every week. But I mean, to be fair to him, he has to come out and try to put a positive spin on things. Otherwise, it just looks like he's conceding defeat. But he never seems to take an awful lot of responsibility himself. It's always the referee, or granted it is individual errors, but look at yourself and ask, why are they happening so often? There has to, like you say, they're human beings, they make mistakes, but I've never seen a Gillingham side where you know every week there's going to be at least one that's going to cost us a goal.
And you know what? And for Gills fans, we've said it in our group, Reece, the group chat we have, that Gills fans out there that are still defending him. How? We've got the worst record in the whole of the Football League. We've got the worst record we've had as a football club in 83 years, conceding goals wise. And the fact is that he'll say in his interview that he's the guy that's got to take the flag. Well, yeah, but what I don't like is that he's all willing to put it on the players when they make individual errors or whatever. But what about, like you've just said, standing up one week and saying, you know what, I've made a mistake. I've made a mistake this week. And
those games he's made subs which have potentially cost us games doesn't really get mentioned.
No.
But even, what was the home game recently? It might have been Walsall. He come out and said that once they equalised for the last half hour, he thought we were the only team that looked like going to win it. I didn't see it that way whatsoever. I don't think we created a chance.
What interested me is that obviously I was at the Walsall game, and literally every single person in that football ground, apart from him, knew we had to have a striker on the pitch to support Cody. And yet Hal, with the guy with the power, could not see it. It doesn't. That Tuesday night game against Walsall, it didn't take a qualified football coach to even know that we needed a striker.
Even yesterday, he caused a load more anger on social media. Yesterday, how obviously Fleetwood went 2-1 up with, 8 minutes left.
Yeah.
He waited to 89 minutes, took 2 strikers off and brought 2 more on.
Yeah.
Well, what's that going to achieve?
When did they score?
Must have been about 82 minutes, I think.
Is that when they scored?
Something like that. And
well, as
with
soon
2
as
minutes
that
left,
happens,
he takes off 2 strikers.
But surely, leading up to the goal, I think they were piling on a little bit of pressure anyway. Wouldn't you bring a couple more forwards on, just try and get us even further up the pitch, away from the goal? But there you go. I don't know. Yeah.
Only he knows why he sees things the way he does. But generally, that you do find that when a manager's struggling and pressure's building, they do tend to sort of see things look differently.
I think the thing is, I think that maybe the more professional answer to it is that some managers, certainly at probably their level, believe in what they're doing, and they will stick to what they're doing, whether it works or not. You see it at top level. People cry out for changes. Look at Wenger at Arsenal. He's not won a title or 10 or 11 years, but he will still play that type of football because that's what he believes in. And the thing is, Edinburgh will keep doing what he's doing, whatever he's doing. I don't know what he believes in, but whatever he thinks he's doing, thinks it's working for him. And all the time, he feels that he's confident in himself and confident he's going to turn it around. It won't change, unfortunately. He's one of those managers. He's one of those managers who's not adaptable, won't adapt to changes, to new philosophies, and unfortunately that's going to be our downfall.
Next question is, what do you think of the differences between the 2015-16 squad and the current squad? Well, we've touched on one of the big points already, fitness.
Confidence as well.
Fitness and confidence. Yeah. Obviously, going into the 2015-16 season, the year before, obviously Edinburgh took over, I think it was in February, and his initial impact was quite good. We ended the season well. Obviously, we won the last game of the season and sent Notts County down. So we started the new season fairly good spirits, and that was shown in our performances. And obviously, at the end of the season, well, we was playing like we are now. And bar the 2 Southend games in the first couple of games of the season, we've gone straight back to that form.
I don't know what
are the exact differences. Don't know, because the players are better now. That's for sure.
Better squad. We've got a better squad on paper. Don't know. In a real bad run of form, and I don't think. You know what? I think the side are missing a bit of character. I think they're missing someone like a Charlie Lee or something like that. There's no characters in that squad. Obviously you got your Josh Wrights and stuff like that, which he's a character. He's a good captain. He does well. He wears his heart on his sleeve. But people that are going to fly banter around the dressing room, pick the boys up when they're losing. Can't be just one guy. Can't be just a Josh Wright or a Cody or a Nelson. It needs to be throughout the squad. You look at that title winning side of Martin Adam Barrett was a character. Charlie Lee, Kedwell, Dion Burton, Nelson. Like throughout the squad, they were just characters, and they were good footballers as well at that level. And I think maybe the difference is, yes, we've signed good players, they're good ability, but I think when times are getting tough, I don't think they can handle it, and that's the difference. I think.
No, that was the same said about Edinburgh as well. I remember the day we appointed him, Newport fans were of that exact opinion, that he's one of these people where when things are going well, you struggle to find many faults with him, but as soon as things start to turn a little bit sour, he sort of shakes responsibility off of his own back. Doesn't really have any other plan of action to go about changing things, and to be fair, it's what we've seen for most of this season. It's been proven right. The last question for the video is, if and when we get a new manager, what has to change?
Belief. Having belief in your players, having belief that you're going to change, adapting the squad, playing to their strengths, fitness, making them sharp, because we've got a young side. That side should be outrunning teams, and unfortunately it's crumbling. So all those factors, I think.
I agree. I definitely agree on the fitness point. I think it's a massive one. Playing players in their proper positions, not square pegs round holes, which is a weekly occurrence. It's no wonder why mistakes are happening in terms of individuals when we're having so many players playing out of position so often. It's, if someone's put somewhere they're not familiar with being, of course they're going to make mistakes. We touched on it probably the last video or podcast, that when Dickinson was here, Edinburgh released him for not being good enough defensively. He wasn't a defender and he was being played as left back every week. But of course, he's a young person playing out of position. What do you expect? Especially at our level. And that's all we ask. 11 players who are going to go out, be played in their proper positions, and compete for 90 minutes. And we're unable to do that. If games ended on 80 minutes, I expect we'd probably be pushing the top 6. But unfortunately, they don't. And we're paying the price for it.
Definitely agree, mate. Definitely agree. So, that's the last question, isn't it, Reece?
It is, yeah.
Thanks for joining us. Thanks for sending all your questions in. Keep subscribing, keep liking. And the last thing, up the Gills.
Up Gills.